from Make and Take at the Berlin-Peck Library. This is a tutorial for rolled paper roses.
These are the supplies we'll need for our rolled paper roses. I am using some large dictionary pages, but you can use any book pages that you like, or you can use colored paper, colored printer paper, or origami paper, or any other paper that you have. It should be lightweight for the rolled paper roses. So I've got 2 sheets here. You're also going to need a pair of scissors, a pencil, a hot glue gun, and I am using a quilling tool or a quilling pen for this. But if you don't have one of those, you can use tweezers, which have kind of a long end. They're longer with an angled end, and those will work for you as well. But the quilling pens are not that expensive, and they're great for rolling up paper. So I'm going to start with cutting my pieces of paper in half. It doesn't have to be exact. You don't have to have multiple sheets of paper, but this allows you to do several at once. And especially if you're starting out, practice is helpful because your first one's probably not going to come out perfect. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. So I've just stacked my pieces up. And if you have something round, you can trace that. I didn't grab anything round today, but it doesn't have to be exact. I'm just gonna loosely draw a circle here. So that's kind of faint, but you can see it. I can see it. I'm gonna bring it up a little closer. It's just a circle. And what we wanna do is we wanna create a spiral that works its way in to the center of the circle. Now you can draw this out with a pencil if you want to, and if you're a kind of cutting by the line sort of person. But I'm just going to go ahead and create that spiral just by cutting. I find it's easier that way. So I'm going to start and just cut out my circle here. And this is not something that has to be super specific. As you can see, my circle's not perfect, but it's going to come out just fine in the end. You can save the extra paper that you have to create leaves and add those on to your flowers at the end, which is what we'll do. So I'm going to set those extras aside for now. So now I have my circle here. And I'm going to just go ahead and cut this spiral. I'm going to keep my, as I go around the spiral, I want them to be even. So they're going to be around 3/8 to a 1/2 inch, but you could certainly make them bigger. That will give you a bigger rose with a higher depth to it. And I'm just going to start this first cut, just angled in from the side. And I'm just going to work my way around, trying to keep about an even distance from the edge as I go. Now, the wider you make these cuts, the fewer times you're going to have to wrap it up. And of course, the bigger rows you get, and vice versa. I'm just kind of letting this go. You want to be careful as you do this that you don't get it all tangled up, because that can be a real pain at the end to have to untangle your spiral. So I'm kind of just letting it go down below. As you can see, kind of keeping my spiral in place. That'll save me some effort later on. And as I get to the middle, I'm not going to take it to a point. I want to leave a little bit like so. That gives us a little piece that we're going to create the base. So now I want to just let this sit back down in its shape here. And the easiest way to pull these apart is either, let's grab one of those, just pull your top row off, set your others aside, and that's enough to give you 4 roses. All right, so now we're ready to start making the rolled rose. I've grabbed the end of my spiral here, and I'm going to slide it into this slot on the quilling pin, and I'm just going to start rolling it up. I'm going to move this down. Okay, so let me bring you in a little closer. There we go, we're a little closer. So I'm going to roll this up. I'm just keeping my finger on the end just to keep it in place. I'm not pulling it super tight because at the end you're going to let it unwrap and loosen up and sort of open up like a rose. But just to keep it in place, you want to maintain some tension on the paper. And if you pull too hard, of course, you might rip your paper depending on how lightweight it is. Now, the further I go, you may start to see, you can see how the paper kind of wants to crawl down the quilling pen here, and that's okay. I'm just keeping it generally in line and wrapping. So we're going to go all the way to the middle. Sorry, I want to make sure you can see what I'm doing. I'm getting out of the frame there. I'm going to slide those up a little bit. Okay, so generally when I get close to the end, I go ahead and pull it off of the quilling pin and just do this last little bit by hand. So there's our base. Now, I'm going to try to make sure that I can show. This is a hard thing to show because you want to keep your finger on the top. You're going to let it unwrap a little bit. And it might take it a moment to get started, but once it starts, it does want to unwrap. But I'm going to try to do it with the quilling pin here so you can see what's happening. And I'm just helping it along. There it goes. So it started to unwrap a little bit there. It will sort of shoot up if you let it go. I'm going to let it do a little bit more. There it goes. Oops. And I let go of it and it went up. That's okay. I'll just slide it back down in there. Let this unfurl. This one's going to be a loose one. I'm just kind of working these pieces back down since they worked their way up when we were unwrapping. Okay. So that's pretty good. I know it may be hard to see with my fingers in the way. I'm going to glue it so then you can see. So I'm just going to do a little dot of glue here on the bottom. And I'm just going to press the center of my rose right into that. All right. So there's the rose, and you can see this one's a little loose right in the middle, and that's okay. Some of them are going to be tighter depending on how much you let them unfurl. Now, if you want this bottom, you don't want a big flap on the bottom like that. You can glue that up. You can kind of pinch it in and glue it up. So I think what I might do, I'm actually going to do a little slit here. You can also just leave it if you like the way yours looks. I'm going to pull that up a little bit and let it glue. And then I think I'm going to bring that careful with your hot glue and don't burn yourself. All right, so there is our rolled paper rose. Now you can see right down in the middle of mine, and if you have an open one like that, you could always take a little rhinestone or a little bead or a little pearl and slide it right down there in the middle, and that would be very pretty. Now I promised you that we would do something with our leftover paper. So here's my extra. And I'm going to make just some very simple little leaves. So I've got 4 here, nothing special. I'm going to fold them in half. Now you could do all kinds of things with this. If you have ink or paint handy, you could always ink or paint the edges and you'd get a little color on there. You could add some glitter, some glue with either a spray adhesive or a little bit of Mod Podge. And you can also, if you want to make them a little more permanent, you can seal them with a sealer spray, kind of like this one. This is Krylon Crystal Clear. And it won't yellow the paper, but it will seal it so that, you know, if you want to create something and have it last, then it will hold its shape for you. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little glue here to these leaves. I've got 2 leaves that I'm going to glue together. And then a little bit more, and we'll put that right on the bottom of the rose. And there we have it, a rolled paper rose. So once you practice it a little bit, you'll get the hang of it, and you'll be able to do these lickety-split.